Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Commander Clash podcast, where the Commander Clash crew talks all things Commander. And we got a fun one this week. We are talking Commander hot takes, and we have some pretty spicy takes to get through. But before we get to that, we got a crew to introduce. Small crew this week. Krim, still in Korea at the moment as we're recording this, so it's the middle of the night there. So we're three-man in it, but we have Tomer, probably better known as Budget Commander. How's it going today, Tomer?
Hi, I hope I have lots of hot takes. I always say things and people get mad at me in the comment section.
Yeah,
So I think that's just hot takes.
I think that counts, yeah. And of course, Phil, Brewer's Kitchen. What's up, Phil?
Hey-o. First time on one of these hot takes episodes for me, I think.
know.
So
Some fresh
it should be
perspective here.
fresh, yeah.
I feel like, so we did a hot takes episode before, but I want to say it was like 2022 or something. So it's been like 3 years or something. And a lot has changed in Commander since then. So we got some new hot takes to talk about. But before we get to our hot takes, we got a couple of sponsors today. Our show is brought to you by Foil Armor. Do you have problems with your foils curling? Well, Foil Armor is the ultimate solution to flattening your foils. It's a two-way humidity pack that you simply put inside an airtight container with your cards, and Foil Armor will absorb and release moisture, making your cards completely flat. Put it back in your storage box to keep your cards flat forever, and you can head over to foilarmor.com and use the code MTGGoldfish to get 15% off. Our show is also brought to you by Card Conduit, the easiest way to sell your Magic cards. If you ever get tired of the hassles of buy listing, you can skip them with Card Conduit. You can use their curated service where you send in as many cards as you want with a buy list value of $1 or more, and pay just a 5% service fee. And if you want to do a bit of work, you can use their sorted service where you list and start your cards in advance and pay just a 2% fee. Either way, you're going to get a detailed report with the results in a fast payment once your order is processed, and you can even get another 10% off by heading over to cardconduit.com/mtggoldfish. Card Conduit, it's the easiest way to sell your Magic cards. So thank you to our sponsors for supporting the show. And normally, it would be comment of the week time. But again, we're doing weird Vegas stuff, recording some stuff ahead for why we're in Vegas for a week. So no comment of the week because the timing doesn't line up. But we will be back to it next episode once we're back from Vegas, which means it is time for some hot takes. And let's start off with apparently Mr. Hot Take himself with the comments yelling at him in all of our episodes. Tomer, this is your chance. You're allowed to hot take, and the comments can't. Well, I guess they can still yell at you, but they shouldn't yell at you as much because that's the theme of the episode. What do you got for us?
I think a lot of times when we have like Commander channels, not just our own, but a lot of them when they discuss like how to increase win percentage in Commander and like how to optimize your deck and stuff, I feel like there's one way of like just like guaranteed like the biggest factor on actually increasing your win percentage in Commander that I literally have never seen anybody talk about. So I wanted to hear your opinions on it. But it's just like the idea that if you're a charismatic person at the table, your win percentage is going to go way, way up compared to whatever else people are playing. Like if all things are considered, if everybody has the same power level decks at the table and they're evenly matched card-wise, the more charismatic person has like an insane advantage to actually win the game in a multiplayer social event. And I've seen this phenomenon a bunch of times. I would not consider myself a high charisma stat enjoyer, but I've seen people like someone in my regular play group, for example. He will play any deck. He will pick up any deck. He's just very charming, you know? He is very polite to everybody at the table. He'll take game actions that don't really make sense optimally. Like, he'll be like, yeah, you could hit me for 2 or whatever to get your trigger or something like that. But it pays off dividends later on in the game because when people are deciding, like, who should I kill and stuff, it's not always, like, the most optimal thing. Like, this will increase my win percentage by 1% if I kill this person first. It's like, no. We'll leave the charming guy alone or whatever, and they'll always walk away with the W. And I've even seen like strategies that seem like, you know, people gang up and hate you. Like I've seen the person play like straight up stacks. He's like, I just want to try the stack and everything. And if you don't like it, I can swoop it down. And we're like, no, try it out. And he's staxing us, and we're like, a smile on our face, you know, getting this dumpstered by like static orb and stuff, status orb, and like. It's just like insane. It's insane how powerful being charismatic, being nice at the table, and having people enjoy your company is going to increase your win percentage. And literally nobody talks about it. Like, am I crazy?
No, no, I would take it a step further, and I would say this also mostly just applies to life in general as
Yeah.
well as Commander. Like I definitely agree with you, and I think it's so when I hear charismatic, I think like. Well, is that something someone's just gifted with? Like, can everyone be charismatic, or do some people just have like this charismatic personality trait that happens to like work for them? And I don't know the answer to that, but I will say, I think even just like being nice and fun to have at the table, like maybe you're not, not everyone's going to be like some super charismatic, magnetic personality, but you don't have to have that to get the same rewards, I don't think. Like just being like nice and it's fun to play with you. Like when I think about who I'm attacking at a table, if it's a tiebreaker, I'm going to keep the person around who I have fun playing Commander with over the person who is not as much fun to play Commander with. So I think you're 100% right that stuff actually is like super underrated. Not just in Commander, but in life in general. Just like be nice to people, and people are nice to you, and your life goes way smoother. I've made it a lot of years doing it that way. So, yeah.
Yeah, I would agree with you a lot if you talk about life, but I try to be very nice in Commander and on the table and stuff, but I do get killed first pretty regularly, so maybe it doesn't apply to me.
Maybe it doesn't.
I try to be nice.
I mean, yeah, it's tough to it's tough. I guess maybe that's why it's not discussed that much. Is like it's tough to be like, here's an optimization guide on being nice at the table or trying to win over favors and stuff. People think like immediately politics. It's like I do this for you, and then you'll do this for me or something like that. But it's way beyond that. It's just like it's hard to explain, but basically like the entire concept is like to optimize being the one who people are interested in bringing you back to the table for the next game. Like if you could master that, then you're winning at Commander, and it's so hard to.
So maybe the problem is that I don't give any negative feedback if you kill me. Maybe I say, oh, but then I follow it up with, but I would have done this next turn, so I guess you're fine. So maybe I sent the wrong signals there. So maybe not, maybe be a little sad about it. That might be nice,
could
but
be
be
one
sad
way.
about people hitting you and say, oh, really? You really want to hit me? All that? I don't know. I can't even act like it's usually correct to kill me if I say, oh, next time, guys. So if I nowadays I just stop saying anything, so I don't say anything wrong. But it doesn't matter.
You
People
could
know
guilt
when it's
people.
coming.
Like,
Yeah, maybe
if you like make a big
guilting
fuss
people
every
is-
single time you're targeting and stuff, I think that is a way to live longer and stuff, but it's not necessarily something people
That's the
will
petty way
enjoy.
to do it,
Like
yeah.
people will be like, "Oh, it's that guy. He gets very upset if I attack him, so I'm not going to attack him, but I'm not going to be happy about it." But like I notice like with these charismatic people who like they just like get free wins. Like sometimes they win so much, you'll be like, "Guys, please kill me first this time because like I've won 3 games in a row so far. I don't want to win all the games." I'm like, "Oh, shucks, it's so nice." But anyway, like sometimes they'll do like
relate.
things like, "Ah, yeah, you can hit me for that attack trigger," but they won't ask for anything in return. They'll just be like, "Yeah, it's 2 damage, it's whatever,
Yeah,
or
whatever.
anything." Or if like you say like, "Oh, maybe I can kill him," and it's like, "Yeah, you could kill me, it's fine," like, but they're very like cheerful about it or whatever. It's hard to like pretend that way or like I don't know to learn it, but yeah, it's something I've noticed is like that seems to be like the highest way to increase your win percentage is just being charismatic.
Yeah, especially in
Yeah.
the early game, there's a lot of vibes-based play. Like later, if you say like, "Oh, who am I gonna kill right now?" I guess this decision is mostly who is the most threatening player. But like in the beginning, where you attack for triggers or just somebody's open, you could swing right in there or destroy anything. Like some, not the card casualties of war, but like something destroys an enchantment, and you say, "Oh, you want to destroy this? Maybe destroy this. Maybe you can." Guide a little bit targets off your backs. I don't know. Like in the early game, I think it's a lot of vibes that guides decisions that lead into a decision later. I don't know.
I also wonder if there's some psychology to it with you talking about like, oh, you can hit me and not like asking for a deal or wanting anything back. I know like psychologically, when someone gives us something for free, we still feel indebted to them, right? The reciprocity thing where like that's just how our brains work is we feel like, oh, we owe them because they did something nice to me. So even if you're not explicitly being like, oh, I'll take this too if you don't attack me for 3 turns, I think in the long run, it's still going to work out in your favor. And in the grand scheme of a commander game, how much does 2 damage early in the game actually matter? Not much at all, right? Like, it doesn't really matter at all. You don't know how the game's going to play out, but, like, odds are that 2 damage doesn't matter. So I think that's actually, like, I don't want to be too cynical, but that's actually kind of a smart move, I think, to, like, accept these deals without asking for anything back, knowing in the long run, people are going to naturally pay you back because they're going to feel indebted to you or whatever. That's a good one, Tomer. I actually hadn't thought about that, but I think I agree with it now you mention it. Well, let's move on to Phil. Phil, hot take us.
Okay, so over the years, we've always said something that I think I don't agree with anymore. And that is, Abu duels don't increase your win rate meaningfully. So Abu duels is like Underground Sea, the things that the expensive
Original
duels,
dual
OG
land cycle.
duels, the original dual lands, just both land types, enter untapped, cost a fortune. I'm still not arguing that they're worth the money, because they always come up with like, usually the conversation is they're not worth their money, which I would still not argue against because it's not worth $900, but it's always followed by like, oh, it's only half a percentage or something. And I don't think it is, especially in green decks. I think if we would play them, I would always tutor them up first, and if my tutor gets an untapped land, it would get them, and they're untapped. We usually get like surveillance. Maybe you get a shock, but that's usually it when it comes to fetching out untapped duels. And I think especially in green decks with like 3 visits and Nature's Law, you would tutor them, and you could cast a spell, and I think they increase your win percentage more than we give them credit for. Still not worth it, but I think they're actually very good. They're like the best kind of lands. I don't know.
I mean, they are very good. They are the best kind of dual lands. There's no argument there. So that part I agree with. I wonder, though, do you think it actually... I'm still skeptical that it actually increases your win percentage or consistency that much. Like, you could get a shock land and take 2, and we were just talking about how taking 2 is not like... I mean, I guess in the late game, if you're at 3 life or at 2 life, then it's a huge deal, but if you're at 40 life, taking 2 doesn't seem like that big of a deal to me. Plus, we have surveillance now, triumphs. I know they're coming into play tap, so if you're trying to set up the, like, get my land off of Nature's Lore and follow it up with a ponder off of my tropical island or something, they're not going to do that, but, like, in most cases, I feel like the replacements are good enough that... I mean, I know that they must increase your win percentage to some extent because they are like the best dual lands, but I still don't know if I think it greatly increases your consistency or win percentage. I'm still a little bit skeptical. What do you think, Tomer? Where are you on this one?
I think it's like very like corner cases where I think it actually does pay off meaningfully. I have one deck that I actually wish I had Abu Duels for. Is I have a 5-color changeling deck, and the main reason why I would like them so much is I think the ideal mana base for me would be like all 10 fetches, all 10 Abu Duels, because my curve is very low. I typically need a color source on turn 1 to cast like a turn 1 changeling, and I have like multiple different color changelings, and they all require like 1 color pip to be cast on turn 1. And in that case, if I'm going like all fetches and shocks, I'm taking 3 damage each time I'm doing this, multiple times if I'm like fetching a shock land untapped and doing that. So I feel like that does add up if I'm like taking 9 damage over a couple turns. That's kind of painful for me, and then the Abu Duel would actually be a significant improvement. But if you're like 5 color and your curve isn't really high, then I think that's kind of fine, because then you have a mix and match of like some shocks, some triumphs, some surveillance or whatever, and it's fine. There's like another deck that is like, it's basically a mono white deck that's splashing red. It's my Boros Culture deck, and I have a plateau. That's my only Abu Duel that I still own, and I have a plateau, and it's one of the first things that I tutor up. because yes, it is better than the Sacred Foundry. It's better than like Surveil Land or whatever. I run all of them, but like it's like more like the critical max of them is really nice, and it lets me like turn on my Emeria, which you convinced me to put back into my deck.
Yay!
It still hasn't done anything.
Yeah.
It hasn't done anything.
Give it time,
it's
Tomer. Give
there.
it time.
So it's like important there, but like I feel like for most decks, I don't think it's very meaningful. But I just feel like the one time it is meaningful is probably by Changeling deck, really.
I mean, I
didn't
guess
think
in
about
some
5-color. I
Yeah.
recently played a lot of Simic decks again. I know people would think I'd always play Simic, but I admit I played a lot of Simic in the last episodes. And especially in Simic, you have like, you play a lot of ramp, and you play the green ramp that ramps, but Simic is missing, I think, the basic land check lands or something. It is missing a fetchable land. And I noticed in, I think, was it 2 games? I don't know. So I noticed that I would fetch a drop right now, but I can't because obviously we can't put them into every deck. But yeah, I think they're very good. And then I fetch a tapped land, and then I'm a turn behind. Like if you're on turn 2 Nature's Lawing, you're usually getting a Surveil land. But if you go like turn 3, turn 4 Nature's Law, you usually want to cast something else. You don't want to play a 2-drop and then not do anything. And then I think they're very good, actually.
Well, then one shock is like not the worst, but it's like, yeah, if you have a critical mass of these, then it gets annoying to be like, okay, well, I got my shock, and now I need more untapped duels, and I just don't have any more untapped duels. I think, yeah, I agree with
obviously,
that.
if you still have the shock, I wouldn't argue that the shock is... Maybe you could even argue that the shock is good, because then you're not at the highest life total anymore.
There is a thing there, right?
Yeah.
They're like, oh, the highest life total. I have a 8 power creature swing at you. Phil, everybody's at 38 because they all took a shock, and then Phil, you're at 40. Come take 8.
Yep.
Okay.
I actually think you might be right that 2-color decks. I mean, I agree with Tomer that in 5-color, if you're consistently fetch shocking, like it's going to add up to a lot. But I actually think 2-color, I was thinking that as well, might be where it would be most impactful, just because you don't have that many fetchable duels that come into play untapped. Like it's really shocks and nothing, right? Like Surveil's come into play tapped. Triumphs come into play tapped. I guess you can't play them in 2-color anyway, but like if you want to fetch out a dual land, so I don't know, like if you could discount the price, and I just can't separate the price in my mind from like the power, but if like you purely were just talking gameplay and what increases your win percentage and the cost of your deck had 0 implications, I think it's correct. Like, there's no doubt that your deck would be some percentage better playing the Tropical Island. But I think that the sticking point that we always run back into, is it enough better to justify spending $300 on a single card or whatever it is? Like, and that's where it's just like such a tough hurdle to get over. Yeah.
I mean, obviously, I'm not arguing this. It's just always when we talk about these, it's like,
you don't need them.
But
They are
then,
the best lands
honestly,
in Magic.
yeah, I think
now.
they're very good.
Oh, God. Do you think it's becoming less of an issue as time goes by? Because we keep getting Triumphs and then Surveils, and like, do you think maybe like 5 years from now this is even going to matter less?
If you get new untapped fetches, but the untapped part is very good. And the type. Obviously, both two good things about the lands are the relevant parts here. So, untapped and land types. Maybe, I don't even know, what would be a condition to get new untapped?
I feel like next time they do Commander Masters, I feel like they'll make legendary dual lands.
Yeah.
I think they won't be legal in Modern. They won't change anything in Legacy because we already have the real dual lands. And then you just straight up like, Tropical Island, but it's legendary. Perfect for Commander.
Or they could just do like if you have 3 opponents, like the Battle Bond lands, where if you have like 2 opponents, then it enters untapped. You could just do that and make them legendary, and then it's like
they're gonna make them mythic.
They're not gonna be played in vintage.
Crazy expensive.
Yeah, of course.
Oh, no.
Of course they will. Of course they will.
Or just
they gotta make money, those poor souls. Like
fetchable command towers. Command tower with the land.
There is
type.
one.
Like,
there's a snake that fetches a command tower, but that's all it fetches. ETBs.
And
it puts it in the land.
It goes to hand, right?
Yeah,
it doesn't go.
hand.
If it went to the battlefield, I'd play that card a lot.
Yep,
it's kind of gross.
All right, let's move on. I got a hot take for you, and hopefully people don't get too bad. But here's my first hot take. So my hot take is the more you use EDHRec to build your commander decks, the less fun you have actually playing your commander decks. So I should say, I love EDHRec. I think it's an amazing tool, and I use it all the time. Like, so this is not to bash EDHRec, but I think in Commander in specific, a big part of what makes Commander fun, at least for me, and I know everyone plays their own way, but it's the deck building process. And it's that this is a format where you can play your pet cards and your favorite cards. And traditionally in Commander, it's the home for the cards that weren't good enough for other formats. If you go back before the Commander boom and they'd print a standard set and have some 7-drop in it, the meme would always be, oh, that card's good for Commander just because it's expensive and not good enough to see standard play or modern play. And I feel like over-reliance on EDHRec to build your decks ends up lessening the amount of like self-expression and personalization that goes into your decks. There's kind of this pressure when you see, oh, everyone's playing the One Ring or Smothering Tithe or Rhystic Study or whatever, or even within an archetype. Like I'm playing an Edgar deck and everyone plays these vampires, and you end up leaving out a vampire that you really like and that you kind of want to play because you feel like, well, it can't be that good, right? Because no one else is playing it. So I feel like I went through this process myself where when I started using EDHRec, I feel like I went too deep on it, and I like would just rely on it too much because it's so easy, right? You have all the cards laid out when you know they're going to work with your commander and you just put them in, but then your decks end up feeling a little bit cookie cutter. They look like everyone else's version of that deck. You're missing the fun cards and the pet cards. So I've come around to the idea that the best way for me to use EDHRec is I try to like build my deck, and then after I build my deck, I go to EDHRec and look at the commander, and I try to use it to like double check. Is there anything like super cool that I didn't think of that's like perfect to go on my commander? Is there anything super obvious that I missed? So I think that just like being too reliant on EDHRec actually makes the deck building process and then eventually the gameplay with your deck a little bit less fun. But I don't know. What do you guys think?
Like I feel like EDHRec is a fantastic tool for people who are casual in Commander and newer players, or just like a great way to be a launching pad, being like, oh, I wonder what this legendary creature can do, and then you look at EDHRec and like, oh, that's how like what it does, you know? Like some people can't look at a new card and be like, how would I build around this? And then EDHRec is like a good way to be like, this is how you could build around this, and I like that a lot. But I am in a similar boat with Seth where I derive a lot of enjoyment from the format of kind of brewing my own thing and playing cards that I enjoy. And those not necessarily are the most obvious ones to be included in a deck. And EDHRec usually kind of just shows you the most obvious inclusions. And what I found that works really well for me is typically I build decks using Scryfall search results. I'll use a Scryfall tagger. I've done a video on how to use a Scryfall tagger a lot. Like, for example, there was a deck that I built recently, Mirko, which is a Surveil commander. So obviously, if you go on EDHRec, you'll see like all the cards that say the word Surveil on it is in there. That's great. But I was thinking like, okay, well, if I am surveilling, what cool, unique things can I be doing in the graveyard? And I found like this like a Warhammer called like Convergence of Dominion, and it's a cool mana artifact that basically says activated abilities from cards in your graveyard cost 2 less to activate. And I'm like, whoa, this is such a cool card. I've had it sitting around. It's like a pet card of mine. How would I build around, I want to make a Mirko deck using Convergence thing. It's not showing up in EDHRec. Like, if you type Mirko and you try to find this mana rock, it's not there. But then I was like, okay, so I'm going to make this cool self-mill deck. And then I type like on Skyfall Tagger, like activate from graveyard. Like that's my search. And I find all these cool cards that are like, if there's in your graveyard, you can pay 3 mana, return it. Like Encore, for example, works. An Earth works. There was like a new ship that came out in Final Fantasy that reanimates itself, and then you can sacrifice it to reanimate other things. I'm like, oh my god, this is so fun. And then what I did afterwards is once I built my deck, I went to EDHRec and I'm like, is there anything that I missed? Any cool tech that I missed? And that was like the final piece. So it was an assistance to my deck building, but it was kind of just like to round out my deck, not to just kind of copy paste. But I do like that it makes the commander deck building process very approachable for newer players or for people who just don't like brewing that much, you know?
Yeah.
I think it's a great tool for that. But if you do want to really go deep on the brewing process, you really enjoy the brewing process, you have a large game knowledge already, I think it could be a lot more satisfying to just like go for Scryfall or use other or just like take cool cards you like. Take cool cards you
Yeah.
like. Don't worry so much about like the whole optimization thing. Just like play that, and if it works for your table, then yeah, it's good. It's
Because I
not the
think
only way.
part of the beauty of Commander is you don't have the pressure to keep up in the same way you do with 60 card formats. I know in 60 card formats, like net decking is kind of like a very common thing, right? You look at a tournament result and you're like, oh, this deck won a tournament, so I know this deck's good, so I'm just going to play that deck because I want to win tournaments. But I feel like Commander you don't really have that same pressure, especially within a play group. Like, yes, there's pressure to like keep up with your table or like whatever, but you don't have to, it's not all about winning in the same way 60 card formats is, and it actually like allows more room for the fun cards and the self-expression and so forth. So I hope people just don't forget about that aspect of it. What do you think, Phil?
I think optimization is the thing. So you're probably going to build a more optimized deck if you just go take your commander, go on Scryfall, take the cards you think are the best there. Sometimes stuff sneaks in there because, like, if you ask everybody how do you make cookies, you're probably not going to make cookies with salt, although they do need a pinch of salt to taste better. So EDHRec probably wouldn't put salt on cookies, but they would put chocolate chips and butter and sugar. Bunch of sugar and butter. That's what I know. A bit of flour. So they know how to make good cookies. Of course, if you say, oh, I want to go this commander, but a twist. Maybe I play around his creature type or, like, as Thomas said, like abilities in the graveyard. You're probably not going to find niche ways to build the commander or something unique. I agree with the take of it's not fun. Like, sometimes I do this for Commander Clash. I pick a commander and then I go through EDHRec just to say, okay, I'm just going to throw in the cards so I don't miss anything. And then I already have 100 cards. And then it's like, oh my God. Then I throw in like 30 more cards. And then it's like breaking my brain over what to cut. It's also they do have a bunch of staples that take room from cards that would be cooler. Sometimes I find cards where I think there was one card where I had to check if EDHRec had it on this commander and it wasn't there, but that's the only time I remember thinking, oh, this card synergizes with this commander, and it's not on EDHRec. Like, usually the wisdom of the masses is correct and they will find the good stuff. Maybe not the super spicy stuff, maybe not the salt and the cookies, but I agree that it takes the fun out of it. It's probably the same. People hate net decking. Not people, but a lot of Reddit, I guess. And there's nothing wrong about it, especially in 60 card formats where you want to min-max. You should probably see what, if everybody else does it, it is probably. Masses are right. Just in general. There's exceptions to this, but usually a big number of people guesses the right amount of peas in a jar. If you take the average, it's going to be the right number. The wisdom of the masses, but it's boring. You can just ask them and they tell you the right answer. You can also go on Scryfall and find out the right answer for yourself. And you find cooler decks. When I built my Manuel's Kalga deck, I went on Scryfall and just typed token in there, create token or something. And I ordered so many cool cards. And then my deck got, not because of EDHRec, but just because of optimization over the years. Now it's stronger, but it's missing the Trojan horse and all the cool cards that I had in there before. I don't know. It is
I
more
guess
fun to build with Scryfall, yeah.
Yeah, I like building that way. Plus, in a few years, none of this will matter because we'll just be like, AI, build a deck around this hot new
Oh, God.
feature.
Yeah,
Then Amazon will
that's true.
automatically deliver it to our house, and
And then they
we'll
just
sit it
put
on
the-
our shelf and never play it. And
Then
build
they
an-
just copy paste the EDHRec. AI just cuts out the middleman. Instead of you pasting from EDHRec, AI will trust you.
It is pretty
Yep.
close to what AI would do, right? Like,
Right.
well, like AI.
I
What a
imagine,
PvP
yeah.
would do would just
I-
What the average
gather
from all
information
decklist,
from the
yeah.
internet, and then
Yeah.
Yeah.
it is pretty close to this.
Well, let's keep moving forward. Tomer, give us hot take number 2.
I don't. I hope it's a hot take, but we'll see. Maybe it's a lukewarm take. I kind of feel like there's a trend in Commander that the format is turning into social solitaire. But what I mean about that is like everybody kind of sits down at the table and there's like an unspoken rule of like, do the thing. Everybody wants, like, we're optimizing for everybody at the table to do the thing. What does the thing mean? It's mean like, if I'm in a dinosaur deck, my thing is I'm going to be casting a bunch of dinosaurs. I played Spellslinger. My thing is I'm going to cast a bunch of instant sorceries. I'm a token deck. My thing is I'm going to make a bunch of tokens. And so doing the thing just basically means let everybody like do what the fundamentals of what their deck is trying to do, and then eventually somebody announces they win, and that's all well and good. And I feel like this is getting more and more pushed as like the main way of playing Commander, and I think that's a good thing. I think everybody wants to kind of like show off what their deck is doing, but I think it's kind of getting taken to the extreme where people are getting more and more upset about interaction, being like, ugh, it's another board wipe. It's the second board wipe this game. And it's like, yeah, it is the second board game wipe this game. And like just like the idea of just like interacting with your opponents, playing stuff that will stop them from doing the thing, like, removal spells will stop them from doing the thing, like stopping that Gishath from like flipping over 15 dinosaurs from the table. Because oftentimes doing the thing often means just like winning the game. It's usually synonymous. Usually also with power creep and stuff. The longer Commander goes, doing the thing usually just means like, okay, I have 10,000 dinosaurs. That's 10,000 damage. I have haste and you die. And like, that usually just means the game is over and other people don't get to do the thing. That's one problem I have with this like narrative of everybody must do the thing. Interaction bad, farewell bad. And the other problem is more of an issue of just how the game is being designed right now. We have more and more cards being printed than ever before. It's like wild how many unique cards are being printed. And I'm getting to the point, I'm a professional Magic content creator. I've seen every single card ever printed in this game, except for Alchemy, because those don't count. And yeah, when I'm going to my FNM and stuff, people are bringing out like all these like new commanders that I've literally never seen played before. And yeah, maybe I've skimmed them over during previews. Maybe I talk about them briefly, but like there's so many cards that when I'm looking at a given board state in Commander now, especially if like we're in the mid game or something, I literally don't know what's going on. There's so many cards, so many interactions to keep track of. Commander's always been very, very complicated in general, but with so many new cards that I'm not super familiar with, it's very hard for me to like follow even the game state, even when I'm actively trying to do so. And I think that's kind of reinforcing this social solitaire, where if there's too much information for you to analyze, it very much comes to the point being like, okay, yeah, you take your turn, tell me when it's my turn, or tell me when I die, and then I'm gonna do my thing. I'm gonna do my whole solitaire thing. I'm gonna pass, then you get to do your solitaire thing, because like it's so many cards, so many new things. How do you keep track of everything? I don't know. Maybe it's like a me thing. Maybe I'm getting old and like all these newfangled cards and like, where's my elder dragons and my rampant growths? But like, everybody's being like, yes, this is my Final Fantasy VII character or my Doctor Who character that has 8 lines of text. And when you flip the whoopa whoopa, you get 5 dingleberries. Like, I don't know what's going on. And so I think that reinforces the solitaire. It's like, okay, yeah, you do whatever. Yeah, you're good. Just do your thing.
Oh, I see what
Wait
you
until
mean.
my turn. Like
I remember Richard telling this after Las Vegas. He was like, this is the first time I had really experienced this. I was playing all these games with randoms, and there was all these secret lair cards and so many new cards, and I didn't know what anything was doing. So I started just being like, okay, do your thing, and let me, if I'm dead, let me know. Like, play, I don't know anything that's going on, and when it's my turn, I'll do my thing. So you're not the only one, because I remember Richard telling me this, something very similar after Las Vegas. So I think that is a real problem. And I think it is like, it's so weird. I think that it's because we've reached the point that Commander's been around and popular for so long that a big percentage of Commander players never played 60 card formats. Though we have a lot of people who their entire Magic experience is playing Commander, right? Playing this social format that's kind of the ethos of it is, be nice and everyone do their thing. I think if you come from the 60 card scene and you're used to the like competitive mindset and the stacks pieces and the interaction and like how hard it is to stick a single creature on the battlefield in some games of like Standard or whatever. Like if you come from that, then Commander seems so incredibly tame. So I think it's just like, I think Commander has become its own thing. Like it's almost like it's not even Magic anymore. It's almost like a Magic adjacent game that's like so different from 60 card formats that it's really like its own thing. But I think it is true. The question I have for you, Tomer, though, do you think it's bad? Like is solitaire, is that a bad thing if everyone just kind of like, I don't know, sits around and does their own thing and someone wins eventually?
It's not necessarily bad. I think a lot of people might enjoy that aspect of it, where it's just like, I will do my thing. I will then shut off my brain on what
you can check
everybody
your
else
phone
is
during
doing.
everyone else's turn. Yeah,
Well, maybe you just chat.
Twitter.
You just chat with people or whatever. Yeah. That's the problem. Is like if you're not engaged in the game, I've noticed this a lot with D&D. Is like when in D&D, like everybody, it's a turn-based combat. If you're in combat, for example, usually on your turn, you prepare your turn, you're very good, and then it's going to take like 10 minutes until it's your turn again, especially in a big group. And that, if you're not actively being engaged with the game, then it kind of incentivizes people to go on their phone, to do other things, get distracted. I think it's good if it's like, I don't know, I take off my turn and then everybody gets to chat and stuff and we're socializing. But if you're like, if that's not the case, which it usually isn't, then I think it could be a bad thing. But yeah, like for me, I don't know. I like knowing what's going on at the table. And also you mentioned like alt art and stuff. I do think like secret layers really exasperate this. Also like every single card having like 50 different showcase versions and alt arts and everything. Like half the cards are incomprehensible. You just can't read them. Like the Final Fantasy ones, which is like the full art, and then like the text, and there's no border or background behind the text.
Yeah.
I can't. I try to read it, and my brain rebels. It's like, no, I cannot. And then you're telling me that's like Jonah Unifier or something. I'm like, what? That was Jonah? You have all your creatures have 20/20, and I die. Okay. It's
I kind of get what you mean. Yeah, I do. I would not. So it's already crazy to go on your phone during a game of Magic, but in D&D, that's nasty.
Oh yeah, but no. Like if anybody did that in my group, I'd be like, I'm not DMing for you anymore. Like, I'd ask them politely. Obviously,
in Magic, it's already crazy, but. Yeah, I mean, I know the problem, especially since I cause the problem sometimes, of people saying, like, I'm gonna take my turn, and whatever happens. I went over to, I'm just gonna do whatever I do. I'm gonna make misplays, but at least it's gonna be fast, so there's no thinking, at least, so it's constantly stuff is happening, and then I pass, or you're dead.
So Phil's technique is to stop thinking during his turn too. Just the full brain off.
Stop thinking. Full stop. Full stop.
I also don't mind seeing people pop off though. Like as long as they don't pop off thinking. That's not a good. Like watching people think is incredibly boring. But if they do game actions, then I think it's entertaining. But yeah, what I don't like is a core turn that is like, I make a treasure, I draw a card.
It changes everything.
That's super boring. So I get what you mean, but I don't like log off. I usually follow the game and I think it's cool. especially if it's interesting. If it ends in a thoracle, I would say, okay. That's why, for example, CDH, I think, no offense to CDH players, but it's so streamlined that it's like, yeah, now I can probably just shut off and tell me when you're dead. But in casual Magic, where there's like a whole board of 4 singleton decks interacting, and there's always stuff happening, always cool rules quirks that I've never come across. I think it's fine for now. I also don't mind the versions problem. I don't like all the crazy, this is a Joda, but it's actually SpongeBob, or vice versa. But I don't think so far it contributes to, as long as you tell me this is a Joda, my head says, okay, this is Joda now. Maybe there's a critical mass when once this is, we'll see. So far, I'm not checking out yet.
I'm 100% bored with watching people pop off, but I feel like the game is more fun if I can follow what's going on. And also, it feels also, I like it when the pop off is like earned, like they fought through interaction. Somebody tried to counter spell, and it's like, well, okay, I'm going to use, or somebody use a removal spell, and then I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to protect it. And it's like, yeah, okay, you fought for it, you earned that pop off. Now you get to do the thing. I love that. And I think CDH is actually really good for that, by the way, because cheap interaction is kind of like how you push through your wins. But the problem for me is more just like when the boards are so complicated, there's so many cards that are all unique, they're all doing their all wiggle and moo things. It almost, I don't know if you guys have ever played the board game Wingspan.
I don't think so.
It's like
Almost.
actually it was made by like a Magic player, big Magic fan. And he made a board game, and it's basically like you assemble a board of like birds, and the birds all have like ETB and synergy effects, and you're trying to set up your engine. But there's not really much interaction. It's more like, okay, you pop off on your turn, you do all these synergy cool things, and you acquire points, and then it's the next person, and then it's my turn, and then I'm like, okay, blah, 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 and then I pass. And then the interaction's not really there, and you don't really know what's going on their side of the board, honestly. Like if you played a lot, then sure and maybe you could kind of interact with them a little bit, but it's usually not even worth doing. So you just kind of focus on your own engine. And I like that, but it's like it doesn't hook me like Commander does hook me. It's getting harder to get hooked though. It's like if I'm engaged with everything's going, I know what the cards are doing. I have interaction, they have interaction, and we're all like fighting, and then eventually somebody wins. I feel like that's so exciting, and that's what makes me be like, yeah, let's go again. But it's like, okay, I'm gonna play this card. I have no idea what you're doing. Don't even tell me. Or like I tried to read the cards like 50 different times, and it still doesn't click, and it's like, that's why I run more board wipes. I just run more board wipes because I'm like, I'm not reading all that crap. So I'm just wipe the board.
I'm just gonna write
the board. And like people are like, yes, it's more optimal to run more board wipes. I'm like, I'm not running it for optimization purposes.
No.
I'm running it just so I
don't
can
want to read
follow. That. Yeah, I don't want to read all the stuff. I just want to follow the nice clean board state. But yeah, that's my issue. I like popping off, but like, ugh.
Maybe it's so I have a better time following everything if I know that my next turn is gonna be good. Like once the board is wiped and then somebody pops off and I know, oh my god, my next turn is gonna be 3 seconds. Land, commander, try to rebuild. But so then I might actually, I found myself in the position where like I passed the turn with this crazy engine, then the board gets wiped and then somebody pops off and I was like, oh no, this is so boring now because now I don't even need to, I kind of, please kill me. Just end the game so I can
What if you have interaction then? Then you stop them and then they're like, oh, now I'm out of it.
I don't know what interaction. Okay. I don't know, to protect my combo maybe.
Yeah.
Do you think it could ever shift away from that? Or do you think that's just like, is this what Commander culture is? Like, could Commander ever not have the like, everyone kind of solitaire and pop off? Like, I know it didn't used to be as much like that, but do you think that the tide could turn back the other direction? Or it's hard for me to imagine Commander getting less casual and moving away from that at this point.
I think, if anything, this is going to be more that. But they literally called interaction crimes in Magic. So I feel like that's a good indicator. That's a good indicator of where we're going. And I think it's just like, yeah.
It's just so funny that we came from, like, if you go back to the early 90s, this was a game where, like, you could only mulligan if you had no lands or 7 lands. Everything was sinkholes and Armageddon, so most of the time you wouldn't actually
And
get to
we
play
liked
Magic.
it.
Well, that's how Magic started, and now it's like, oh my god, a fatal push is a crime. It's been
Yeah,
such
why are
a
you
such a
targeting my,
shift.
my commander? If I don't have my commander, I don't get to play the game. Why are you being such an ass? I'm like, if you have your Joda out for a single turn, I lose.
Yeah,
And then I don't get to play.
it's not personal. Yeah.
And
Oh,
they'll be
that's-
like, but it's not Joda, it's the Warrior of Light. And I'm like,
I also just realized that Joda has been the Warrior of Light and SpongeBob in like the last 2 months. I don't know how
He's
that
a proud
actually
foot.
makes sense, but
Kind of funny. You can play your Joda deck and have like all 3 of them, and whenever it gets killed, you switch. Like,
oh, all right, Phil, why don't you give us a hot take?
all right. So talking about EDHRec, sometimes I build decks, and maybe I build a black deck. Like this is a very specific example, but it leads to a bigger point. And then a regular black deck plays like Sign in Blood. A lot of them do it. Why would you play? And Richard does it, and I kind of can't relate. So what I'm talking about is small card draw spells. Like as soon as you draw 4 or more cards or X cards equal to the power,
Oh,
hell yeah. But just 2 cards especially. Why would you play a just raw card draw spell? I'm not talking Ponder in a spell slinger deck. You want to trigger your stuff. If you're not triggering anything, why would you spend 1 card to draw 2 cards if you could instead play something that synergizes with your commander, and then once you deployed all your synergy pieces, play a draw 8? I don't get it. Why do so many people play Sign in Blood? Or what's the other
So-
one? The other black
Nice
one. I don't know.
Whisper.
Nice
Nice Whisper.
Why? It's
Wait, what
just
about
too-
draw 3s, Phil? So you said 4 is good, 2 is too few. How do you feel about like?
I mean, I don't play
Troops
them.
Or Secret Rendezvous
No,
or those type
you will
of?
not
Okay.
see me play them. It's
See, I'm in between. So I don't like the draw 2s. I don't really play Sign in Blood. I don't play Night's Whisper. Like those don't do it for me. The draw 3s I do play. Like a Painful Truth draw 3 for 3 or a Secret Rendezvous I'll play. Obviously drawing more is good. The other thing I'd add is I feel like I thought you were going to go a very different direction with this. I thought you were going to go the direction of kind of like incidental life gain, like cards that just gain life are bad, but cards that incidentally gain life as they're doing something else are really good. I feel like card draw is kind of going that direction for me because so many things have like card advantage ETBs or generate some sort of virtual advantage, card advantage, where just a card that's like, I'm going to draw 2 cards and that's all I do. I feel like it might be going the way of like, I'm going to gain 3 life and that's all I do. Like, why would I play a card that only draws cards when I play a card that adds body to the battlefield and draws cards, or kills your thing and draws cards, or sets up some engine and draws cards? So I think it's
especially-
trending even more that direction.
Yeah, because almost every, I mean, probably not every, but a lot of commanders have like some archetype that allows you to incrementally draw cards. And even
Draw card to ramp, draw
Phyrexian
card to
Arena,
ramp.
I think, is still fine because it could technically draw you 10 cards. So,
Mm.
but just
That's
spend
garbage.
1 card to draw 2 cards without triggering anything. I don't know why people do it. I've heard the argument that it's like ramp, that they want to hit their land drop.
Oh?
I know.
Okay.
No,
That's kind of a
it's-
stretch, but sure, okay.
I can defend it a little bit. I used to run a lot of Night's Whispers and Sign in Bloods in my black heavy decks. But I don't think I have them in any of my decks anymore. Maybe Selenia still has it because I haven't updated in a long time.
That's
But
synergy.
I think it's more just like curve filling. Like if you don't have a lot of 2 drops and you're just like not doing anything for the first couple turns, this is like something that you can do, and it kind of fixes your curve a little bit. You don't want to be just like nothing, all 3 drops, all 4 drops, and then nothing, or something like that. You kind of want to do something on the early turns and fix. And they also kind of help with like consistency issues. Like, in Commander, like, yeah, if you have the right number of lands, you'll probably hit your lane drops X amount of times. But sometimes you have like too many lands, too few lands, or something like that. Even if you're like in a 40 lane deck or whatever. And just like these like small, reliable sources of card draw that aren't reliant on an engine, by the way. Like your commander, you mentioned, like, yeah, usually your commander these days is either going to draw you cards or ramp, or sometimes even both, like Joda. But then sometimes they require a hoop or something to go through. And then sometimes you like just don't have your engine ready. Like interaction happens, like the boogeyman, like I explained. And some jerk is actually running board wipes or something, or blows up your commander or your synergy piece, and then you're stuck doing nothing. So these kind of like pad like your deck a little bit to make sure that like you're hitting your lands, you're finding your synergy pieces and stuff like that, and you're also doing something meaningful on the first couple turns. But I am like Seth, where like draw 2 for 2, it's like fine, but like just as power creep is happening, there's just better ways of drawing cards. Draw 3 for 3, like Painful Truths, I'm still very high on. Or if there's like draw 3 for 2, like there's that Assassin's Creed card that's super sick. Eagle Vision.
Oh, is that the free running one?
Yeah, the free running 2 mana draw 3. That's like, if my commander has evasion, slam dunk.
That's just a little different, because I can dig this. This is like your commander did this, and you played your commander before this, so you're setting this up.
Yeah.
But just raw, I mean, I get that. Oh yeah, it does something regardless of the board state. But I don't know. That's not what I live for in Commander.
It's more like curve fillers for me. Like I also just want to make sure I'm doing something meaningful on the first couple turns, like clean it up. But yeah, it is going out.
I would argue you're better off ramping on those turns, like drawing cards like a huge percentage of the time. Like that's another reason I don't really
play a Mana Rock though,
Whisper. I'd rather.
What if you're non-green, Seth? Are you gonna play a Talisman, a Fiend Signet?
Yes.
Honestly,
and then
okay.
ramp it to your draw 6, and then you make up all this card disadvantage when they're gone. It's
actually, where's those non-green nature's lores? Maybe this is the podcast that gets Seth on Mana Rocks.
Actually, I've slowly, like, a little bit started to come around on Mana Rocks. I think not playing with Richard as much has been part of it. Because I feel like Richard is like the master of punishing Mana Rocks, because he just always going to have the Ondu inversions and the farewells and stuff. But now that I haven't been playing with Richard as much in Commander Clash, I'm actually like, there's been a lot of games where I'm like, I think I could have just played a bunch of Mana Rocks and it would have been fine. Like I could have actually played them and they would have stuck around and done things. So I'm coming around a little bit on the Mana Rock thing. All right, let me give you my second hot take. And this one kind of relates a little bit to the Final Fantasy release, but really, it's applied for a while. And that is, I hear people say this all the time, in response to the price of Magic cards being so expensive, prices going up, people always say, oh, well, you can just proxy. And my hot take is, that is actually a cop-out response. It's a cope response. And it's actually a horrible response to Wizards increasing prices. Yes, it is true that you can just proxy. I'm all for that. Like, if you can't afford a card or whatever, put it in your casual deck. Perfectly fine. But I feel like the reliance of just being like, oh, I can just proxy. Oh, just proxy. Oh, just proxy. I feel like what we really want to be doing is being like, hey, Wizards, make your stuff cheaper. Hey, Wizards, why don't you reprint these cards so they're not $100 a piece? Like, that's the message I want to be sending. Not just like, oh, whatever, let's just give up and just proxy, rather than actually like fighting to make the game actually cheaper and more accessible to everyone. So I feel like that people are over-reliant on the idea of like, oh, I can just proxy stuff, when actually it'd be better if we were like sending a unified message to Wizard being like, hey, maybe a precon shouldn't be $80. Maybe, whatever, like Mana Crypt shouldn't be $300. Like I think that would be a much more productive way to handling it, rather than just being like, oh, just proxy. That solves everything. But
we actually did tell a big message to Wizards of the Coast, and we said, this price is fine. You can even maybe try increasing it, actually, Wizards. Remember we were talking about, Universes Beyond boosters, Final Fantasy boosters are so overpriced. They're so expensive. WotC, we don't like this. We want it to be cheaper. And then what happens? Sold out everywhere. Oh, collector boosters are $700 USD for a box, a single box, which is what? It's like 8 packs or some nonsense in there. It's like more than a Switch 2, more than like a new PlayStation. And then people are like, yes, please. And please. Oh, you're sold out. Oh, please, WotC, please print some more collector booster boxes for me so I can spend $700 on them. Please.
I want to blame Final Fantasy fans for that, but I don't think that's actually fair, because I think it actually is. It's not just Final Fantasy fans that are paying like those huge prices, but you are right. Like, that we're sending a very bad message, right?
Yeah,
Like
it's like,
the
what are-
best-selling set of all time is also the most expensive set of all time.
Yes.
Ugh.
And it's like okay, so we could demand cheaper. Like we've also said, like Watsy, your foils are garbage. And we make fun of them all the time. And then what happens? People just line up for their crappy curled Pringle foils all the time. They're like, yes, please, Watsy, Pringle them more, good sir.
Can
And
I
it's just like,
have-
Foil arm.
like, so we do explain. The only way we explain is with our wallet, and the wallet is clearly telling to Watsy, you can even increase the price. Who cares? As long as Cloud is in it on the face of the thingy,
Yeah.
and he has a surge foil, maybe gold plated. You could do gold plated. We'll pay $1,000 for it. Yes, please, Watsy. And that's how we explain it. That's why I think like Proxying is actually the only way to get out of this situation, because if people are voting with their wallets as they are, and they're showing Watsy, you can make infinite money by just keep on increasing the prices. You haven't reached the limit yet. Then the only way to be like, I don't want to spend this money, but I want to play with new cards, is to proxy. I'm sorry, that's like the only reasonable thing that you as an individual can do it, because you can yell at them all you want, but they don't listen because they're listening to the people who are just throwing money at them. They speak louder than the individuals. Unfortunately, proxy is the only solution.
I do agree with Seth. I mean, I also agree
Alright.
with Toma, but thank you for putting yourself in the fire of the comment section there. I didn't dare to put this point on my list. I mean, I don't use... If you play with me in an event, I will play fancy versions. No proxies in there. I don't mind if you play proxies. I could probably, though, devil's advocate an entire podcast episode against proxying, because you could also say it ruins my immersion if I get mana drained, and the mana drain is an island where there's like a ripped up piece of paper that says mana drain on it. And I said, I just countered your commander with this, and then I cast my omniscience that is just a plains that says omniscience. And then I say, I cast all my proxies for free, and you're staying there. Okay, we're just playing mental magic.
What about my
or something.
immersion? You cast Dismember, it's Plankton, and then you cast like Triumph Reports,
sure.
and it's the Fortnite guys, and I'm like, well, I don't like that either.
I feel like the
Not gonna
argument,
argue
Phil's
with that.
argument would have worked better like 5 years ago. For
Yeah.
like, my immersion like is kind of a little bit out the window at this point for me, just because of all the secret
Yeah.
layers and you
I
versus
missed
beyond
the
stuff.
crap
But I get what you're
smothering
saying.
Yeah, like proxy is a little bit sticking it to the man, and in Magic, I get it, and I don't. It makes sense. And there's also one problem with proxying. I remember when my kitchen table group opened Pandora's box of proxying, and all of a sudden we played Legacy without knowing what Legacy is, and every deck was just power leveled up to the brim, but we didn't know what we were doing. So, yeah, I don't know. I just do what you want. I don't know.
Do
Rob
what you
said in the
want.
comments.
That is the most hot.
I mean,
that is the most hot take.
I think the
ever. Do
only
whatever
thing-
you want.
I think Watsy's going to increase the price until they reach a point where it's no longer the profits aren't going up, and there's nothing us as individuals can do about it, because the people who are speaking are the people who are throwing money at them to increase those prices. So like, I don't usually proxy my commander decks. I do sometimes proxy cards that I'm interested in buying, but at the same time, I've been working in this industry for a while too. I started, like when I started, was a student and stuff playing Magic. I did not have an disposable income on cards, so I made budget decks, and then I turned budget decks into my brand. But like, I don't know. I feel like I think it's very silly to be like, oh, if you want to play with some new cards or something, you have to, and you want to play like Cloud or something for a deck, and you're going to be playing it a couple times at a F&M or your own little play group or something, that you invite people over. Sorry, you should shell over $40 for that Cloud.
Nobody
for the
said
privilege
this,
of
though.
trying it out.
No.
Proxies are like totally should be the way to be like, if you don't want to spend money on it, proxying should be the way to just allow you to do. It's the only way. Like,
That's
you're
not
not going to
what
tell
Seth said,
Watsy,
though.
please.
Yeah,
But
it's just not the answer to everything is getting more expensive. It's not just, oh my God, this is going to get me roasted. But
It is.
pirated. It's like it's
It
not.
is.
Of course, it's not like pirate. Is it like pirating? I guess it is.
No,
I
it
don't
is
know.
the answer.
But-
What are we supposed to do? Watsy, please. I might don't want to pay $40 on cloud. Can you please lower the price to $10?
Yeah, but
Watsy
it's
would
not
be like
like
people are
said
paying
that-
$40 for
But
cloud.
I feel like
It's
it,
not like he said you can't play this, and if you proxied, you're bad. It's just like that is not the solution.
I didn't say that. I just say the solution isn't asking Watsy nicely because of course everybody knows it's stupid. Everybody knows this is a ridiculous prices, but like what can we do about it? Like people will pay that money.
just so it's clear, I'm not against proxying. I'm pro proxying,
No,
but I
nobody
feel like it
is,
lets
yeah.
Wizards off the hook if we just immediately go to, oh, I'm just going to proxy it. It lets Wizards off the hook for making things so expensive and for not reprinting things. And like, that's what I'd like to see. And maybe I'm just too idealistic and living in some utopian fantasy where Wizards like reprints things and cards are cheap and everyone can play their stupid game. Like maybe I'm just deluding myself to thinking that. But yeah, so that's my concern is I feel like it just ends up being like lets Wizards off the hook and it's kind of a cop out. Like, not that you shouldn't proxy, because I also agree with what Tomer's saying. Like, I don't expect people to go out and buy a $100 card to test a deck for 2 times. That's insane. Like, you got to pay your rent. Like, that's the reality of the world we live in. But like, I also hope that people keep the pressure on Wizards to like improve the game and not just immediately default to, oh, I can just proxy it as a way to get around Wizards letting things get out of hand with prices or whatever.
I think we should always pressure them. I think it's always important to point out that these prices are stupid. I think they know it's stupid. You know, like they can they with a straight face be like, yes, these 8 booster packs are worth $700.
Yeah, $700.
Okay, this pricing is crazy.
It's insane. It's insane. But people are going to pay for it, so it's like, okay, well, I guess we'll take our money. I'm not saying it's good. I'm just saying like I don't think we have that much impact, even though I think it is important to point out. I think
true.
In the best, I've always advocated that I think the base version of every single card, the playable version of it, should be like as cheap as possible, like $1. They should be just straight up $1. Maybe like Watsy could sell them direct, like be like every single card in stock, $1. Just buy from us $1. And then the special versions, you can make them a bajillion dollars. I don't care. You can make them ultra gold plated thing. You know, like actually you get the gold plated Cloud, and the voice actor of Cloud will show up to your door, and every single time you play Cloud, he'll say his catchphrase. It's like, it's Cloudin' time, and then like,
and then you
like, and he'll just show up every single time you play. Like, we're gonna play Cloud again, and he just wakes up. He's living underneath your staircase, and he's like, it's Cloudin' time. Hell yeah, Omnislash. You know, like, sure, I don't care. I don't care how expensive a collector version. I wish the baseline should be cheap. And if Watsy isn't making it cheap enough for people to actually play who don't have that much income, I think you should just proxy it.
Yeah, I mean, just yell at Watsy too a little bit.
Yeah.
Plus, it's fun. Who doesn't like yelling at Watsy?
Yeah.
All right. Final round, and we're gonna do a little lightning round action here. We each got one more topic. We're not gonna go super in depth because we're running a little long. But Tomer, we're back around to you. Give us your final hot take.
Okay, this is actually a Richard hot take that I was like, we kind of memed on it, and the comment section memes on it a lot. But like, as I keep playing, I feel like the Codfather was right on this, and it's the so good it's bad. So good it's bad is actually the truth. I remember like we had this discussion about like doubling season, and I'm like, I don't think doubling season is usually worth it. Like there's corner cases, but like it's just a kill me now or kill this now lightning rod that you're probably not going to get value before, you know, your opponents deal with it. And there was like some pushback and stuff, but a lot of people were like, oh yeah, too. And I think that the general philosophy is actually very important. There's a lot of cards that people take for granted as staples. They just like are big, bombastic things that everybody knows is like an Omega level threat, like your Smothering Tides or whatever. And some of them are worth it. Some of them are so good that it's still worth just like being the arch enemy. Like the One Ring, for example, is like a card that's like, yeah, it's going to get you a lot of heat, but you get an entire turn off of being even damaged, and the amount of cards you're getting off of it is worth it, and it's indestructible, so good luck even dealing with it. But a lot of cards that people are just thinking like, oh yeah, of course it's a staple for my deck, they're so good and they're so well known that you're probably better off just like taking it out and then putting in like a card that's more obscure or something that gets its value immediately, and then you don't care about it dying afterwards. And I think that's like a general philosophy that I've been switching with my deck building is I'm looking at my cards, I'm looking at my decks, and I'm like, are there any cards here that just make me the instant arch enemy? And are they worth being the arch enemy for? And if the answer is no, I just take them out for something that looks like crappier on paper, but like just won't get me killed for it.
You know what cast we got to do now that you said this? We got to do cards that are worth being arch enemy for or something. Now I'm actually curious what cards you actually think are like will make you the arch enemy, but they're so good they actually back it up and it's worth it. But I think I agree. I think you just described essentially Richard's entire philosophy of Commander. Like pretty much. I think that is exactly like the Richard theory. Like play the worst stuff, the disposable stuff, don't look like a threat, and then get them on turn 11 or whatever. Like that is the Richard way. And yeah, I think that is right. I would agree with that for the most part.
Yeah, I mean, the ring is an exception because it's kind of like they're new, and then they give you a turn of protection to
that
stop
that makes sense.
Yeah, we gotta get him, but not this turn. Let's punch each other in the face for this turn.
Oh, God, yeah.
Someone quick disenchant it. You can't disenchant it. Whoops.
Oh my God, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a reason. Also, Richard generally backs it up with his win rate, so he's usually right on stuff like this. Yeah. It is weird because there are cards that are so good they're good. Like I still think like Smothering Tide, for example, is so good it's good. Or like Trouble in Pair. You can try to fight it, but they are gonna get the Heuristic. Heuristic has this extra problem of people, if they would know how to play against it, it's less bad, but yeah.
It's not even knowing how to play against Heuristic, because I know how to play against Heuristic. I just refuse to do it because it's Commander, so it's not even.
Does anybody like being spear resistance in the game?
No, it sucks. I might need that mana, and plus we're gonna mill him out. Phil, why don't you give us your last hot take?
Okay, my last hot take is something that I think combos are very fine and a very legitimate and even in casual okay way to win the game. Like, I don't care if you build a big board and play a Crater Hoof, or build a big board and have a critical mass of stuff that combos into one engine. Like, obviously, 2-card combos like Thoracle or, I don't know, Painter Servant Helm? Is that a thing people do in Commander? It only kills whatever. 2-card combos are like, 2-card combos are a little boring. I give you that. But if your deck is assembles a critical mass of pieces, that's also a totally legitimate way to win. You don't need to do like, oh, now my deck is an engine, but now I have to find a way to kill you with combat damage with that engine. That is just not how. That's a whole part of the game is not related to combat. And I think it's kind of weird that nobody cares if you build this whole engine, but then they suddenly care if this engine doesn't, like, it's just be happy that it killed you. The worst part would be now I don't know, like
now I journal. It's coming.
I'm actually very happy if people just kill me eventually with this.
It's so weird that people get so salty if you just combo off and win the game, but then apparently they accept someone like taking their 20-minute like value engine turn that is not winning the game, which is someone sitting at the table playing the game. I think those 20-minute like engine turns are way more annoying for the whole table than the like, oh, we just combo killed and moved on to the next game. So it's so weird to me that what people get upset about in Commander.
I think combos just like isn't becoming. It always has been for a long time, just like a shorthand for being like something bad, like it's like a swear or something. But like, it's just a finisher. And yes, some finishers are going to be too powerful for your play group, right? Like the most powerful combat finisher might be too strong for a more casual table, much like the most powerful combo finisher might be too strong for your table. Like Thoracle is like the strongest. And yes, if you're playing it outside of CDH, probably don't. But like if you could have a combo finisher that takes an obscene amount of mana, has multiple cards, is incredibly interactable, maybe takes multiple turns to actually set up properly. And should be just as fine as some janky way of winning with like all my samurais get +5/+5 into under turn and trying to copy that like 5 times or something like that. I don't know. Some example. Like the combo, like
It's
combo is
also
just a type of
very
finisher,
similar
and they
to
could be
combo.
janky and they can be powerful. And maybe like the powerful ones might be too strong for your group, but you could take a janky combo, and I don't think people should be like, no combos, because we see that a lot. Like no combos, and it's like there's nuance, just like no finish. It's like saying no finishers allowed. We just dirtle.
No lands. No lands allowed.
No finishers, no creatures.
But I mean, actually, all right, I'm gonna ninja in here because this actually
Yeah.
relates to my last hot take, and then we can finish talking about
Go
it.
ahead.
Because my last hot take was gonna be the commander players are too soft, and Wizards is making this worse by doing things. Tomer brought up the crime thing, the crime mechanic, labeling interaction a crime. But the one that I was thinking of is like, in the new bracket system, they explicitly ban combos at lower levels. Like, you're not supposed to play any 2-card combos. And I think that just makes the problem even worse. And I really agree with what Tomer said. Like, when it comes to Commander and it comes to combos, yeah, Thoracle is going to be too good for your casual table, but how is it any different than if you sit down to your casual table and just play all the best fast man, all the Mox Diamonds, all that stuff, and steamroll the table? The problem isn't that it's a combo, it's that you're playing stuff that is just way too powerful for the pod that you're playing in. And it doesn't matter if it's a combo or if it's your mana rocks or whatever, like, you're going to lead to an imbalanced game that is not going to be fun. So I totally agree. I guess it's got to be a hot take because I don't think most people agree with us. But I agree that combos should be accepted and actually should be more encouraged because it has the upside of actually ending the game. And another thing people complain about is games going way too long, and at least combos like actually ends the game, which is a big upside.
Maybe Wizards agrees because they did put an infinite combo in the new precon with Walking Ballista. Maybe that was on purpose.
No, but I actually kind of agree with I'll defend the bracket system. Usually, like, if it's because in bracket 3, you're not allowed 2-card combos. And I think that's like usually the 2-card combos are usually the strongest ones. We're thinking Thoracle again, but usually those are the strongest ones. Sometimes like they're not, even like Exquisite Blood and Sanguine Bond or something. Like, that's a lot of mana to just put those two on the battlefield. But like I can kind of see that being okay to like, yeah, leave that out of bracket 3. But like 3-card combos are fine or whatever. I think that's fine for the most part. But then there's nuance. This is just a guideline. Like they also say like no extra turns in bracket 3, for example. But like, I don't know. There was like a really bad Final Fantasy card that's an uncommon that's like you can exile 8 cards and pay 8 mana on your end step, and then you flip it and you take an extra turn.
Yeah.
Like if you do that, I think that's fine, even like in bracket 2, and that's where it's a guideline. It's like there are going to be corner cases you could just be like, hey, I have an extra turn, but it's garbage, look at it, and then be like, people should be fine with it.
I had a point on this list that is like the brackets. It's impossible to define power level with rules like this because you have hyper efficient 3-card combos. If you have Gravecrawler,
Warren Soul Trader,
and then a Blood Artist, that is a curve of 1, 2, 3.
Sure.
Yeah. That's so
but it's
easy.
Not, the bracket system, even like by its own admission and on the disclaimers on it, say it's like this is not like the end all be all of like you should just like look at the bracket system and not critically think. This is like a way of helping you determine where your deck's power is, and that's helpful for people who are like who have less knowledge, like game knowledge, or just haven't played with this deck before, and to be like, hey, I need to figure out what power it is without playing it first before committing to getting the cards. And I think it's good for that, but like there's going to be extra nuance, and you have to think afterwards on like, okay, it's technically by the rules of the guidelines, it's a bracket 2, but my John Benton list is going to crush people even in bracket 3, so I'm not going to play it in bracket 2, obviously. Like there's nuance.
I think there's two things. So one is with the bracket system, I think my worry is not so much that it's wrong to have like some sort of rules around what combos are in lower brackets, but I feel like it unintentionally sends the message that combos are bad because they're hard
Yes.
banned. I think you're sending new players what we were just talking about with Phil's topic of combos should be more accepted. We don't want this hard rule of there should be no combo finishes. And I feel like that's just kind of the message that I get when I read that, is it sends the message oh no, combos are some dirty thing that we should avoid, when I don't think that's necessarily how we want the game to be played. So I think that's my biggest concern with it, is more just the messaging. I don't think that it's necessarily wrong. The other thing is combos are so hard to define. Is end step secure the race, untap Crater Hoof Behemoth, kill the table?
Yeah.
That's a 2-card combo. That's a 2-card combo, but no one who would call that a combo. So we don't conceptualize it that way. So a lot of the ways that people do die in bracket 1, bracket 2 casual games, I think you could argue are actually the equivalent of a combo. We just don't think of them as combos because they play to the board more than the stack or whatever.
Yeah, that's true. There's there's a rep that's a negative rep associated with the combos is kind of enforced by these guidelines and stuff, and I think that's kind of bad because people it's just a finisher. It's just you're just finishing the game in a different way.
We're all gonna die some way. Might as well be a combo.
Always remember, if you dry, the next action is draw 7 if you start a new game, and that's right? 0 mana, draw 7.
That is a perfect way to look at it. And I think that is a perfect way to wrap up our hot takes, guys. So those are our hot takes. If you got a hot take, let us know in the comments, or just yell at us about how much you hated our hot takes. That also works. Thanks for watching, everyone. I hope you enjoyed it, and we'll be back next week to talk some more Commanders. So until then, have a great week, and this is the crew signing out.